Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, thanks for joining me for the podcast. Today, I have a guest host. I have Earl Stroh from Cutter Stabilizers. So thanks for joining me, Earl.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
Yep. So we'll get into the podcast. Just want to thank our sponsor for today's show. So I really appreciate the support from Cutter and from Earl. Put together a heck of a season this year. Just produces great products. So, man, I've been using your stabilizers. I don't know when the first one came out, Earl, but I'm sure I had it. It had to be, 6-8 years ago now.
Yeah, 2019.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I just really appreciate like the stabilizers, carbon fiber, great connections. What I appreciate is that you're always evolving. You're such an innovator. Like you're always coming up with a better way to do things. And I really believe you produce the best stabilizers on the market. The stabilizers, like connections, are great, carbon fiber, small profile, and then you can add or subtract one weight at a time to really fine tune the hold of your bow and the reaction of your bow. It's just great products, man.
Heck yeah. Yeah. I appreciate the kind words, and we strive hard to make the best product available, and we do it all here in the United States. So we don't outsource or import anything. Everything comes from within the country, and that's something that we feel very strongly about. Is super important to bring our customers not only an elite level product, but support our American economy and keep everything here stateside.
That's amazing, Earl. Yeah. I just love entrepreneurship and small businesses too. And you created this like out of your garage, out of an idea you had, and then you put everything into it. And so now you're working full time. Now you have an employee. It's like really nice to see Cutter get off the ground and succeed just due to your superior product that you produce.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you hear those things about small businesses, like most small businesses fail in X amount of years. And every time we surpass one of those milestones, I'm like, let's keep proving them wrong. Here we go.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Well, you're definitely proving them wrong. And again, just through great products, great service, you always stand behind your stabilizers. It's just a great system. And we talk about it today on the podcast, but I just really appreciate your support, really appreciate the partnership. And yeah, we'll just continue it for years to come because we've become pretty good friends now. And yeah, I just couldn't be more happy for you and for Cutter and to see all the success.
No, I appreciate it, Brian. I'm happy to.
Yep. So we'll get right into this podcast. I want to thank Eastmans for all their support. So go check out the YouTube. We just had that brand new sheep episode from Luke Washington that dropped. It's a great episode. They also dropped like one of my older hunts that premiered on the Outdoor Channel. It's a late season backcountry mule deer hunt. So deep snow, big mountains, and able to arrow a buck up there. So check that out. All our YouTube will be dropping some new episodes coming up here. Check out the magazines, Eastman's Elite membership that gets you part of the Deer Collective, the Elk Collective, both magazines, and also Eastman's TagHub as we're coming into tag season. I'm sure you're getting your apps ready for app season, huh, Earl? Trying to end up with some tags and put together another banner season, huh?
Oh yeah. We got some cool stuff. We're gonna try to hunt with some buddies that haven't hunted with them for a long time, and it's going to be awesome. And I'm kind of back to the drawing board on elk since I burned all my points this past season, but it was worth it, as you'll hear in the episode. And yeah, we're looking to have a full schedule again.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's 365 when you're a Western bow hunter. So there's just there's different seasons, and right now we're into the application and tag season and trying to put some tags in our pockets and make sure we have some hunts and adventures to go on in 2025. So, well, man, let's get into this podcast. It was a great one, Earl.
Awesome. Yep.
Yeah, man, a bunch of success, and then I love to see the success of Cutter as well. Like, man, you guys are just blowing up, which is good. Yeah, all of it is so well deserved. You've worked so hard on the products and so hard at the business, but it's nice to see it explode and see you have employees now, and man, it's really working like you planned.
It is.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy, but yeah, it's been a grind, and I know you've been with us since the very beginning, and you helped us with that initial testing when I didn't even have a website, didn't have a name for the brand yet, and it's come a long way. And yeah, having an employee is pretty cool. It was nice to know that if I have to step out or if I want to go on a hunt for a couple of days, that when I come back, the place isn't going to be on fire and I'm going to be weeks behind. So it's been cool. It's been awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's Justice, right?
So Justice works. He lives in Utah still. He's working for King's Camo, but he runs all of the social media stuff. He does all of our dealer relations stuff. Isaac is our new guy, and he's a great kid. He's basically like the same age as Justice. He's 20, 21, something like that, but he's the opposite height of Justice. So he's 6'8". He's a basketball guy.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, I got some of that younger up and comers. I sure like Justice, man. He sure is a good kid. I knew he was doing some stuff for you. So yeah, running the social media, that makes sense. Yeah, I really like him. He is the next generation of bow hunters coming up that's so dedicated to his craft and improving and going on these adventures. So yeah, it's really cool to see him succeed as well.
Yeah, and him and I have been friends for a long time. We met through bow shop in Denver, and I remember the first time I went in there and I met him. He was working there. He's like 15 years old, and he's trying to sell me a different type of vane than I was using. And I was like, "What do you know about vanes? You just like got into high school last year. How are you trying to sell me vanes?" And come to find out, I mean, he's been around it for so long. Just he started super young in the deepest level of immersion in the archery industry. And I mean, I love that kid to death, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to go on a hunt next year. Got a couple things lined up, so it's going to be a lot of fun if the plan comes together for next year.
Oh, how cool, man. Yeah, I really like that kid as well. Yeah. Such a good kid, hard worker, and great bow hunter. So yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, yeah, so Cutter, like, well, what's new over there? I know, like, gosh, I'm just loving the bars, the sidebar mounts. You guys have some new weights. You said you're going to send me some new 6-ounce weights that are like a smaller design. What else are you guys working on in there?
Yeah, so this year we've launched a couple new products. The weights have actually it's a one-piece 6-ounce stack. Essentially, it gets tapered from 1 inch out to, I believe it's like 1.5 inches. So the benefit of that is rather than 6 individual weights, you shrink that profile a little bit shorter. So if you need to run 6 ounces or more, you don't have as long of a stack sticking off the back of the bar. We made those more specifically for the target world. I had a bunch of buddies that, they're shooting the target bars, and most of those guys are running, more weight than hunting by far, but even more weight than, like, I know you run a lot of weight, and on my target bow, I've got 5 on the front and 17 on the back. Like it's another world. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. So you get those 2 weights, and 2 of them stuck together is about the same as 8 ounces of the individual in length, and you've got substantially more ounces and save yourself some space. So those are one of the things that I actually just mailed that out this morning, so you should be getting that pretty soon. We launched our revised back bar bracket, the CB Pro. So it's the same spline system as the Cordillera was, but we increased the amount of teeth. So you get 3 degrees more adjustment per tooth. And we also increased the size of the spline. So it's a little bit stronger. It's also a little bit lighter. We just tightened everything up a little bit, and that put some really cool laser work on it. So you have the American flag right on the front part of the bracket that shows when the bow's facing forward. It's badass.
Man, that's super cool. Well, yeah, I haven't been bugging you lately, and it's not because I don't love the products. It's just because my products are working so good. I'm so dialed on my system. The thing's just absolutely shooting for me. But yeah, I want to get into your season, man. You put together an epic season, but talk about like these stabilizers, like maybe something that the average guy doesn't know about stabilizers. Like, I always mention how they really help with my hold. They slow down my hold on the bow. I love how you can mess with the reaction of your bow. So like your target bow, those 17 ounces out back, like I can get rid of a lot of my up and down misses with my stabilizers by like adding a weight to the front or taking a weight away from the front or adding to the back. It seems like if I'm getting low misses, like I'll add more weight to the back or I'll take some away from the front. But talk about some of the benefits of these stabilizers that hunters would see if they'd step into even an 8-8 or a 12-8 or just some of the benefits and things that you see with these stabilizers that a lot of guys are catching on to, but maybe not everybody knows about.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll kind of keep it fairly general in the sense of what we're talking about here, but our bars specifically, for a hunting setup, most people want a light bow to carry around. That being said, a light bow is not going to be as stable as a heavy bow. So how do we compromise there? We need our stabilizers to be as light as possible. So that's what we've done is we've made, our entire setup as light and as strong as possible. What that does is it allows you to put the weight where it actually does something for you. So like our longest hunting bar is a 15-inch bar. It's 2.8 ounces before we add any weight to it. So the difference between our longest and our shortest bar, our 6-inch bar, is 1.9. So you have 1.1 ounce difference for our shortest to our longest bar. So you don't get penalized for using that longer stabilizer. So that's kind of the benefit of our system. Something that I think the average person is slowly catching on to is the dual stabilizer systems. I can't stress it enough. It is a game changer as far as accuracy. It's not, of course, it's offsetting your accessories, but what people don't really think about is when you don't offset those accessories, the only way left to level the bow is through hand torque, which isn't repeatable. You can't torque the bow the same every single time. So adding that rear stabilizer, we're adding a mechanical device that is the same every time, that doesn't change. And as you know, hand torque is a nightmare for shooting a good hole through paper, for getting a broadhead to shoot. We want to eliminate all hand torque as much as we can. So leveling that bow so we don't have to use our hand is the most accurate way to do it. So if you haven't used a dual stabilizer system in the past, I'm telling you, you will not take it off your bow once you put it on there. There's no going back.
100%, man. Yeah, and just consistency, grouping, like with your hand torque that you're talking about. I not only paper rip, not only broadhead tuning, but gosh dang it, just consistency in groups. It helps so much. Yeah. And I also think that back bar too. It's like getting those weights like out and off a couple different places of that bow. It makes such a difference in the pin movement and the hold, so that back bar, it's like once you try it, you never go back. Like I've been 10-15 years with the back bar, and I can't imagine not shooting without one. Right. It just makes my hold and grouping, consistency, just my archery so much better. So yeah, I like what you mentioned about the hand torque. That repeatability, that grip is so important. And even though I've been shooting for years and I've got a great relaxed grip and shoot a bow really well, like I can still even find ways to tweak my grip a little bit to get like that's one of the things I'm working on my indoor game right now, and really seeing the benefits of it for sure. So important. Like that's your connection to the bow, is your grip. And you're right, if you don't have a sidebar, you're torquing that grip, and there's no way you can be consistent from shot to shot.
Yeah. And I mean, when you mention a back bar, people always think of the left to right. What they don't think about as often is the forward to back, which you mentioned earlier. You're missing low, either take some weight off the front or add some weight to the back. I always run my weight setup a little bit back heavy because, generally if you're getting stuck low. Nobody's getting stuck with their pin above the target. It doesn't work that way. And gravity's always pulling us down. So rather than having to potentially elevate that front shoulder, which we also don't want to do for consistency and accuracy. Add some weight to the back of that bow. Help the bow help you. You know, it's when we're thinking about a hunting setup, what we want is forgiveness. We want a bow that's easy to shoot. Killing animals is really hard, and we don't need anything else working against us. So we want to make that bow as forgiving as we can.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I shoot, I think I'm 6 ounces out front and I'm 10 in the back. I might be 5 out front. I kind of go back and forth and shoot the bow and see how it holds and how it shoots. So, you know, I'm adding a pound of weight to my bow, which is probably like heavier than most guys. And I'm shooting the 15 out front, which I love, and the 12 in the back. And that seems to work for me. Guys can go with a little bit shorter, but like you say, there's no weight penalty. And the longer the bar, the farther you get that weight out, the more it helps your hold with less weight. So I'm shooting the 15 out front, the 12 in back. And I notice, you know, it's like, sure, it adds a pound of weight to my bow, or like maybe a hair over that. And you're talking about a light bow. But the one thing I noticed is my bow is perfectly balanced. So it's perfectly balanced in my hand while I'm shooting. The other thing is it's perfectly balanced when I'm holding and carrying my bow. And you don't realize what a strain that puts on you and on your wrist trying to keep that top of your bow up, or when that weight isn't even carrying your bow. And I notice with your stabilizers, the way I add the weight, my bow is perfectly balanced carrying it in the mountains as well, which creates less fatigue. So you think that adding weight would make your bow tougher to carry? I think it makes it easier.
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of want to touch on that length as well. You know, a lot of the times we see people, you know, reach out to us via email or Instagram or whatever, and they ask kind of lengthwise. And I always recommend them to choose the longest possible bar that they feel comfortable shooting for that exact reason. You know, we're getting the benefits of the stabilization first off, but it also lets you run less weight. So like my setup up until this year was a 15 on the front and a 10 on the back. This year I just changed to a 12 on the front and an 8 on the back. Only for the reason that we started going out of Texas pretty consistently, and they pretty much only hunt out of box blinds there. You know, with that 15, I was finding that that 15-inch bar was just a little hard to maneuver in there. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can show you a handful of pictures of deer that I killed with that 15-inch bar sticking out the front window of that blind, but it's a little bit easier, you know, and I do have to run more weight. So normally I'm 3 and 7-ish with the 15-10. Now I'm 4 and 9 with the 12 and an 8. So it does add some weight. It's just at the end of the day, you know how you want your bow to hold, and there's only so many ways to get there, you know?
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Good on you. Yeah, I bet you can get the same hold, just add more weight to it. It is like the 15. I mean, it's max. Like you sent me a message if I wanted to try the 20, and I was like, no, I don't, because I know it's going to hold better, and then I'm going to have a 20-inch stabilizer trying to crawl in on mule deer. I get by, and I am so used to the 15-12 that it works for me. But you're right, it's a bit cumbersome, like in the truck, or it's a bit cumbersome, like carrying around. You have to get used to crawling with it or getting it through sage and things of that nature. The one thing I do like about your stabilizers, the quick detach. So you have a quick detach where I can quickly unscrew the stabilizer. It's just a couple twists, and then I can actually put it in the bracket and facing up on my bow. So if you're like riding in a truck or a side by side, or if I have it on my motorcycle strapped to my pack, I don't have, you know, those stabilizers sticking way out. So I do think that's like one of the great design upgrades that you've made to those things.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so simple, but it's so useful. And you don't realize how much you're going to use that until you have it. Like I use that for everything, you know, like you said, in the truck, most of the time when I'm driving around to a hunt, like do as I say, not as I do, but I don't use a case. You know, I put my bow with the top limb pocket against the headrest with that bar folded up, and I use one of those rubber twisty ties through the riser, and it holds it there super tight. So, I mean, you wouldn't be able to do that with your bar vertical or horizontal, excuse me, or you'd have your bar kicking around in the truck somewhere, you know? So on the pack, in the truck, even in the case, it's nice to not have to fish under your foam and find all your stuff after you took it off. It's all connected there. And this year we actually launched a product called our bar clamp, which allows you to secure your back bar to the front bar in that vertical position. It's a 3D printed carbon clamp that you clamp onto the vertical bar, and then the back bar clips onto that. There's 2 holes in it for your QD pills so they don't get lost, and it just keeps it all together there.
Gotta hit you up for one of those things. Yeah, that's handy. You're always innovating, Earl. It's like your personality, right? You came up with these stabilizers, and I remember throughout the years, you're just constantly improving them. I was like, man, these things are great. They're working great. And you're like, yeah, I'm redoing it. And you're just always improving things, just like your back bar bracket that you talked about, like more movement, more degrees of movement. Like, gosh, mine's so rock solid. I don't, it's like hard for me to see, where to improve it at, but you're just constantly like innovating, evolving, and improving. And then you're looking for like niches in the market, like where people can use different gear, different setups, just like that 3D printed back bar holder. And then, not only have you thought of that, you've also thought of your quick detach so you don't lose those. It's like your brain's constantly working, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And that's, the other new product that we launched this year, the Versa stand, is that bow mounted bipod basically. So it stays on the bow when you shoot. It's, you've got the Matthews limb links, you've got the Hoyt Go Sticks. For people that don't shoot either of those brands, they don't have anything that's worth the crap, So basically what the Versa stand is there's a bracket that mounts behind your front QD that stays on the bow, and there's 2 studs, and essentially you have 2 little mini extendable bipod legs that go on each side. And they, unscrew quick when you want to take them off, throw them in your pack. That's part of what that bar clamp was for, is they snap into that thing. It fits really good in like the back pocket of your bino harness, in your, water bottle pocket on your backpack. And then they extend from like 7 inches out to 13, I think. So pretty much any bow, it'll work with them. And then if your front bar is long enough, you can actually stand the bow up on your front bar and the 2 legs as a tripod to keep your cam out of the dirt.
Oh man. Yeah. Like I say, you're constantly thinking and innovating. Yeah. What a great addition to the lineup. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. The other thing I like about the stabilizers, so they're carbon fiber, that's where you're getting your lightweight bars at. So, you're adding weight to the front where you really want it, not throughout the bar. But I also like the slim design. I think it's good for like shooting in the wind. The wind is such a, we don't talk about it much, but out west, it's like one of the biggest factors with shooting game animals. The wind, the hold, also aerodynamics of the arrow, wind drift, but those bars, they don't catch as much wind, which makes it a little bit easier to shoot, when I have a crosswind or any wind for that matter. I hunt a lot of windy places, and a lot of times it comes down to making a shot. And I feel like those cutter stabilizers like give me a real advantage shooting in the wind just from the real slim profile.
No, absolutely. I'm still hoping that animals like places that aren't cold and windy, but hasn't happened yet. So I guess we'll adapt and live in their world.
Well, and then I saw, we kind of messaged back and forth. So, Joe Rogan shooting your stabilizers now, which is great. That guy's like all in on archery and learning as much as he can. And so, I keep our messages private or whatever, but I sent you a message and said, yeah, he's placing an order. And then, it sounds like he really likes him. He loves the hold on it. And that guy's shooting all the time and killing some bulls. So, yeah, that's what a great client to pick up there, having Joe shoot your stabilizers.
That was quite the day when I opened my email and saw that order come through. It was like, okay, we're doing this.
Yep.
It was cool. No, I appreciate you for pointing him in the right direction with what to get. And it was cool. Whatever, 5.5 years ago, I never expected us to be where we are. And it's really cool to get here and to have worked my ass off and actually seen the results. Like, it's pretty logical for everything. You put in a lot of work and you focus on the things that are important, and good things will happen to you.
100%, man. Yeah, you've definitely put in the work and you've built great products. And so, yeah, I'm always cheering you and your company on and want to see you do well. So, yeah, I heard him mention him. I think he was talking to Evan Hafer on from Black Rifle, and then mentioned that he really likes your stabilizers. And he sent me another message that he was really liking them. So, yeah, that's a good thing, man. Yeah, you just keep producing good stuff and keep growing that company. But yeah, I love to see good people and hard workers succeed. That's like my mantra for everything I do as well. And so, yeah, I couldn't be happier for you, man. It's good to see Cutter blow up, and just it's going to continue to grow. It's a great product and the best stabilizers on the market. So, yeah, I see nothing but up for you for sure.
Yeah, it's been cool. And this year was different as far as like the hunting stuff goes, and I would say it was the first year that I was really able to separate work from hunting. And I think there's something to that. My season was the most successful on the Western stuff that it's been in a long time. I mean, the whitetail stuff was a bit of a disaster, but for the most part, like I was very present during my hunts, where in the past I've been kind of trying to multitask with hunting and worrying about emails, worrying about phone calls, camping where I have cell service. Like, there was a lot of stuff that I was doing that, I wasn't fully focused on one thing or the other thing. I was trying to bounce back and forth between both. And this season I was really able to separate and kind of dial it in and get into a different mindset while I was out there hunting.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. That immersion is such like a huge, it's like to be successful, you have to be fully immersed and only think about killing that buck or killing that bull. I think that's like a really important point that you're making, is like being really engaged in the hunt like that. Like you gotta let those things wash off, and it's tough when you're building a business, supporting a household or whatever. You always have like these concerns, but I think if you just prep to get things done before you leave, you take care of things, and just realizing, it seems like there are these huge house fires, like when you're hunting and an email comes through and you feel like you got to get on it immediately and pull yourself out of the hunt. But really, you can fix anything when you get home. And, you work hard the whole year long. Like, you deserve some time for yourself to go chase these critters around. But I think getting your mind right and being focused on the task at hand and fully immersing yourself in the hunt, it is such a huge part of being successful. I just think that's such an important part that you're bringing up. And you saw the success from it this season. Like, you were able to fully engage and immerse yourself on these hunts, and you saw tremendous success. I know you love to hunt antelope, saw you arrowed a nice antelope buck, saw you arrowed a really good bull. Like the proof's in the pudding, like really putting your mind to it and being able to focus on the hunt and not trying to multitask so much. Just huge benefits in it, and I think we can all benefit from that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that I've kind of noticed, and maybe you've seen this too, but when you first get out onto a hunt, there's this sense of like you're trying to go faster than you need to go because there's this lack of stimulus. And it's something that I really love about hunting. And it's the simple fact that while you're out there, you have one task, one thing to accomplish. Whereas throughout the course of a normal day of like working or just living our lives, we have all of this different stuff pulling us in different directions. And it takes a minute for your brain to kind of like tune all that crap out and realize that hunting is such a pure, simple endeavor that we have one mission to accomplish, and that's the only thing we need to focus on when we're out there. So there's this like process of kind of slowing down and settling into the groove of that hunt that it takes a couple days to fully kind of let go and see that the pace is completely different.
Dude, you're so right. Yeah, it does take a couple days to get in the groove of things. You have to get in the rhythm of the mountains. And yeah, we spend our whole lives trying to be so productive throughout the day and get all these things done. And then you're on a hunt. And yeah, you almost, you have to really slow down. And, a lot of times, like elk are only active in mornings and evenings. And so you've got the whole day where you're kind of just sitting around thinking about things, or, you're prepping for where you want to hunt evening. But it is like this real slow pace that you have to get used to. And at first your mind kind of freaks out. It doesn't feel right to be sleeping in the dirt in the middle of the day or laying down in an elk bed. It just feels like you always think of all the things you could be getting done or you should be getting done. But you're right. You always feel better after a hunt, and you feel better like once you get those couple days out of the way and you are in tune with the mountains and your sole focus is trying to kill a muley buck or a bull. It is like so thrilling, but those thrilling encounters, they don't happen every day, all day. Like you might get a couple good encounters in a 10-day hunt. So you have like all this downtime as well. And you have to be good at like, trying to get in rhythm of the mountains, slowing down a little bit, your sole focus, and then that patience, like knowing when to strike and how to strike and not forcing situations. So yeah, I think it really does take a couple days to get in tune with the mountains, and the more you do it, the easier you can switch your brain. And it is something that we truly love. But it's weird how your mind almost plays tricks on you back there. How then you start thinking about, you start almost manifesting problems that aren't even there. You start like thinking of the things you should be doing, or the calls you should have made, or I really should be working on my business. This is how I support myself. Like your mind almost plays tricks on you, and you go, nope, like this is important for me and my soul. This is important for my well-being, my mental health. This is what I absolutely love to do and think about all year long. Let's just do this. Let's be totally immersed, 100% engaged with these mountains, trying to kill this muley buck. And that's where I'm happiest. But it almost seems like I need that couple days to kind of reset my brain to what's going on. So I totally hear you and can absolutely relate with you on it. And it's easier said than done, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, my elk hunt this year was a perfect example of that. Like, it was the day that I killed my bull, I was probably within 1,000 yards of that elk for 13 hours. Like it was a long time to be back there. But I mean, it's a cool story to tell. I don't know, do you want to kind of talk about hunting season, or do you?
I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
Okay. So, we'll kind of come back to antelope season later, but the start of antelope season started the way that it usually does, with me spending an ungodly amount of time on OTC public land scaring antelope away. But
sometimes they'll call antelope hunting spot and spook.
Yeah, exactly.
It does seem like it's you have to fail quite a bit before you get it right. But sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, Earl.
No, you're good. I did have one really, really close call on the OTC with antelope. I was running down this 2-track road to kind of get to a glassing spot, and I look over and there's a buck bedded like 140 yards away, right over the roll of this hill. And I mean, I'm walking fast, like I'm carrying the camera, not being quiet. I look over and he's not looking at me. I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. So set the camera up, crawl in, get to about where I think it is good for distance, which antelope distance is a little different than other animal distance for shooting. So I think I'm kind of at about 80, and he's bedded. The way that he's bedded, I can't get a range on him. I keep hitting the grass, so I kind of have to guess. So I set my sight, and then he stands up, and I range one more time, and he's at 62 yards. Holy crap. So I kind of do some mental math in my head, like my sight's set at 80, he's at 62. Do I hold on his feet? Do I hold on the bottom of his vitals? And basically came up with nothing. So I tried to adjust my sight. And as soon as I started to draw back, he took off. So they don't let you get away with much. basically. I mean, they can see so well. They're so used to not having things in their bubble with that close distance. So I mean, that was my close encounter, which in hindsight, you know, we do 20 things different. The animal would be dead and we'd be happy and smiling and dragging it back to the truck. But that is not the case of how it most of the time works out, you know. But so then September rolls around. My dad and I decided to burn a bunch of points. I'm talking double-digit points here in Colorado for elk. You know, this would be the first non-OTC elk hunt that I've done, you know, since I started bow hunting. So I've got a lot of points. First off, I've got a lot of pressure on myself to go out and kill something in this premium unit. Dad, same thing. I mean, he's been bow hunting for a really long time, and he's had a couple good tags, and you know, the way that my dad thinks is he goes out there to kill for the meat, you know. So like he's killed a cow on a 9-point tag, he's killed a 280 bull on a 12-point tag. Like it's a different game for him. And kind of the experience that I had for myself was I wanted to hunt elk that acted like elk. And if you've hunted OTC Colorado elk, they're very different than real actual wild elk are. They're so scared of everything. They don't call, they move super early, super late. Like it's just a different animal, you know. So this new premium unit was my chance to see elk act like elk and, you know, call and interact with them. And at the end of the season, that's what I got. But in the beginning of the season, it was tough. And my dad and I hunted the first week with very little action. You know, this unit has got a lot of public, but it's got next to no road access. So everywhere is hiking or ATVs. And I have no ATV, and my dad's 73 years old. So we're kind of limited as to where we can go and where we can hunt effectively. The last day of the first week, we ended up figuring out where some of these elk were coming up to bed. One of my good buddies, his brother also had the same tag, and he's hunted that unit actually 3 times in the last 4 years. Just number one, because he's the luckiest human alive. Number two, because his dad had a muzzleloader tag there. So he had good intel on it. So he kind of knew what these elk were doing and told us a spot to check out. And we end up going in there, sitting probably on the most elk beds I've ever seen in my life. Like, you know, you get within 100 yards of a place and it just stinks like elk. That was this place. And it was pretty cool to see. But 8 o'clock in the morning, this cow comes up the hill with a spike and another cow, and comes into like 30 yards. Dad shoots her broadside. She runs off and dies 100 yards down the hill. And I got the shot on video. Like it was a super cool experience. And that was kind of what we had discussed is, you know, Dad wanted to shoot any elk and I wanted to shoot a bull. So when the cow came in, it was, he was up. You know, I didn't even have my bow ready to go as I was running the camera, and I got pretty cool footage of him shooting that cow, and cool footage of him, you know, after the shot, and we're sitting there asking what happened and just seeing the joy on his face. It's just, there's nothing like filling a tag out west. Like it's so hard to do. And when you do it, some of the raw emotion that comes out of you, it's just, you can't explain it. And it's tough to put into words to someone that hasn't done it, what it feels like. And it's incredible, you know? So he was able to fill that tag. We get the cow packed out. I have 1.5 days to come back to town, get a little work done. And then my buddy from out of state, from the Midwest, is coming out here to do his first OTC elk hunt. So we go back to meet up with them. And we actually had a good OTC hunt. We had encounters every day. I was out with them for 4 days, and like I said, we had encounters every time we were out there. When I left, they actually ended up getting on a bull. My business partner, Brandon, actually shot this bull, and just the highs are high and the lows are low. He shoots this bull, what he thought was a perfect shot. They wait 20 minutes. About 15 minutes into waiting, it downpours rain and they can't find the blood. So like, it's just, heartbreaking scenario. But I mean, they grid searched the entire, like, pretty much a square mile of terrain and came up with nothing. So I don't know where he hit it, but long story short, he came out with nothing, and it was a tough go. So I go back into town, and I'm kind of in and out of work and antelope hunting, and I end up getting back out into hunt my elk tag the last week of the season by myself. And the first 2 days, I remember I was hunting kind of where I wanted the elk to be, not actually where the elk were, which I think is a mistake that a lot of people make with elk hunting. Is you got to hunt where the elk are. And that's most often, it's not the place that's easy to get into or that's close to camp. It's the place that they like to live. So third day, I knew where I needed to go because I went back there with my buddy that I mentioned before, and lots of bulls bugling. This really cool spot that borders some private. So I go in there right at first light, and from the moment I hit the trailhead, you kind of climb this mountain and you start descending down into this valley. The minute I got to that peak and started hiking back down, there was bulls bugling from like 5 a.m, like more than 5 bulls bugling at any given time. Just a dream for any elk hunter to have that many bulls just going at it. And I get back into the spot that's, right at first light, it's cracking, and these bulls are still going nuts. Unfortunately, they're all on the private, so I can't do anything with them. I can call to them, I can get them fired up, but I think they were just far enough to respond, but not get mad enough to come on a fight. So I'm back in this spot, going back and forth with these bulls all day long. Like, I can't stress enough how literally all day there's bulls bugling. Like, by the time the day was over, I was hearing make-believe bugles in my ears. My ears were ringing from elk bugles. Like, it was insane. So it's right about 6:30. I hear a bull bugle, and he's a little closer than the other ones that sounded. So I do some calling. I do a big challenge bugle, a bunch of cow calls, rake a tree. And at this point, I'm standing up with my back to a big bushy pine tree. I got my camera set up next to me. And I look down the hill, and there's this bull coming. He came off the private. He's coming towards me. And I remember a couple things very specifically. When he was coming, I say before I saw him, I ranged several different trees that I thought he would walk by. So I knew exactly how far he would be when he got to those trees. And both trees that I ranged ended up being super important. So he comes up, he walks by my 40-yard tree, he kind of turns towards my left, walks by my 20-yard tree and stops. And the other thing that I remember is as soon as his head went behind that 20-yard tree, I drew back. When he stopped, I was already on him. I was ready to go. I shoot. He's quartering towards at like 19 yards. I remember I hit like second to last rib back. So it was not the perfect shot, but it was still decent. He whirls, he stops at my 40-yard tree. Shoot a second arrow, just lace him. Perfect shot. He runs another 50 yards, tips over and dies 30 yards from the private fence. So it was just insane. So insane, in fact, that I thought my camera was turned on, and it was not when I pushed the record button. So I missed a really, really cool opportunity to get a shot on film. But it was just insane. And to have so many elk bugling all day long, and finally get one to come off and respond to a call and end up getting shot, solo. And it was just, I was on top of the world. And I've got some video of my reaction after the shot, and I watch it and it still kind of gives me chills, because I'm so elated and so happy with what had occurred. And it's top of the world. You can't beat it.
Yeah. Man, that's so beautiful. I love it, man. It's like you have really paid your dues. You put your time in out west hunting all different species and really improving and honing your craft of being a Western bow hunter. And you've stated it a couple times on this podcast that it's so extremely difficult with the bow out west, like doing it how we do it, like the public land grind. Man, it doesn't come easy. You have to pay your dues, and then it still might not come together. It's like it's such a lifetime of work to get to the place to where you harvest them, able to harvest a bull. Like that's such the pinnacle of archery hunting, and paying your dues and putting in your time. But then, like, my favorite thing about bow hunting are those epic days that are just magic. And you have to put in so many days to see one of those. Like, even in a premium unit, to see a day like you did where they're bugling all day long and there's multiple bulls and you're making plays and you're getting them to react and correspond back and forth. And then to have it, I always say, like, when you're in the party or you get a magic day like that, you don't always kill, but a lot of times that's when it happens. But for me, like, the joy of bow hunting is when I get those epic days of hunting. And I had one in the late season mule deer where, I was making stalks and it was all day long and deep snow and giant dream bucks that I want to shoot. Like the day I killed my bull, which was my best bull to date, that 7-7. Like, yeah. Man, I was chasing elk and chasing bugles all day long, and that bull was bugling at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I saw him, made a play and backed out, and then in the evening, like, able to kill him on a perfect move. It's just like, I love, it's lightning in a bottle. Like, you have to put so much time, effort, money, energy into bow hunting to see one of those magical days like that, and you saw it, and then on top of that, able to capitalize and kill a bull that day. It'll be like a memory you never forget. It'll be something that you'll remember on your deathbed, is like that day of hunting or that hunt. And then to be able to spend it with, like, people that you really enjoy to be around, like to be able to spend it with your dad and share that hunt with him and watch him arrow a cow and make a perfect shot and drop it. Man, that's what bow hunting's all about, man. That's really the reason why we do it. And you got to find some magic and find some lightning in a bottle. And like I say, you paid your dues and become a really good, efficient bow hunter. And now you're just reaping the benefits or reaping the rewards of all that hard work, all that work on your shooting. You're such a phenomenal shot with a bow, but it doesn't come easy and it doesn't come overnight. It's like constantly working on our craft of archery, our craft of hunting, our craft of calling, like, and to watch it all come together and have success. Like you say, you can't put it into words, man. It's like it's so fun to experience in life and live like a passionate life that we truly love, man. And yeah, it's really cool to see you succeed on a great bull like that, have such a good season.
Yeah, thanks. And that was just the thing that stuck out the most, was that entire day was a bit of a grind. Because I had to hike in on an ATV trail. And I remember I pulled up to the trailhead and I saw an ATV drive by, and just knowing that, like, I don't have that, and I'm pretty sure that they're probably going to go to the same place that I'm going, and I'm going to walk my happy ass in there 2.5 miles on this stupid trail that they're driving that took them 15 minutes to get up, and which is exactly what happened. I ended up running into those guys, and I told them that. I was like, you know what? We're going to the same spot. We both know it. Like, I hiked up here. I'll stay clear of you guys. You stay clear of me as best we can, but I'm not going to go somewhere else. I'm here. I'll stay out of your way. And I mean, they were they were as cool as you could expect to be. You know, I mean, we both were there to hunt, and it was. I had fully intended to stay in there all day. There was no backup plan. You know, they ended up leaving at like 10 a.m. and I just sat back there and played with those elk all day. Another thing that was tough is, like, you know, midday when it's slow, you play on your phone, you check emails, you do whatever. Not a lick of phone service back there. So I was raw dogging the wild back there. There was no other way to entertain yourself except for just be alone with your thoughts and be immersed in what was going on. And it was, I thanked my girlfriend Sydney when I got out for not calling search and rescue, because she hasn't heard from me for 13 hours. But she was pretty pleasantly surprised when I told her that I actually killed one after being back there all day. So that was cool. It was a badass day. It was a one of one.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, it seems like magic when it comes together. It is so extremely difficult, and you can go so many days and seasons on end and not kill a bull that when it happens, it feels like the clouds parted, and, like, you know, it just feels like everything goes perfect, like, when it happens, you know. But you continue to grind, you continue to put in effort, and that magic happens, you know. And so, you know, sometimes it surprises me as well. It's so dang difficult, like you stated, you know, when I'm whatever it is, hunting bulls or hunting bucks, sometimes it feels like it's just mission impossible. And you know, they heard me coming, or I didn't get the right setup, or they didn't go where I thought they were going to go, or there's so many things that can go wrong. But it's like eventually you continue to grind, continue to make smart moves. Like, when it comes together, that magic happens, and it really feels like it's meant to be. And that's kind of like what your story reminds me of, killing that bull, man. Well, what a great season. Good on you, man.
It was cool. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the same story for antelope. You know, I thought it was impossible to kill one of those damn things with a bow, and it finally happened this year.
They're really difficult. They're difficult spot and stock, man. Well, again, you've been after them and you've paid your dues, and you've become a really good antelope hunter, and you've honed your craft to, like, you know, you said, like, distance shooting on antelope, like, that's a specific skill that you need to have for antelope. And so you've worked and honed your skills at antelope to become like a good antelope hunter, and the magic finally happened this year, you know, on a great buck. Good on you, man. How'd that one go down?
Cool. That was another one of one day. I went out to one of my buddies from the bow shop has access to this big ranch, like it's 5,000 acre ranch in eastern Colorado. So that was the one thing that was different. And I don't know how much that plays in to how these antelope acted. I'll tell you, I scared plenty of antelope on that ranch too. So they're still just as spooky. And I think they probably get hunted harder with rifles, because most of those ranchers don't like antelope. Ranchers and farmers tend to not like antelope. So I think they potentially bend the rules a little bit out there when it comes to disposing of them. But that was the first time in 7 years of antelope hunting that a decoy actually worked. So I killed my buck on September 17th, so 3 days before the season ended. And they were rutting for sure. The buck that I killed, he was pretty easy to identify. Both of his horns grew down into his face. So, like, one of his tips of his horns was like 1/8 of an inch away from one of his eyeballs. So, like, he was a unique buck, and my buddy had seen him, and he was trying to kill that buck. He got to like 120 on another occasion, and it just didn't come together. So we end up spotting this buck. He's out on a neighboring property, and he actually got scared over into the property that we had permission to hunt by another buck. And so we're up on this ridge line with our decoy. It kind of drops down into this valley, and he's down in the bottom. So we set this decoy up right on the skyline and just kind of sit there and see what happens. And he's working his way towards us, and got the camera on. I'm ready to go. My buddy's got the rangefinder. He comes up, he crests the hill, and my buddy ranges him. He's like 65. Like, holy shit, that's close. Ranges him again, 62. So I set my sight to 60, draw back, and I watch him take 2 steps and end up just making a perfect shot. Hit him. He drops right where he was. I ended up coming in his chest and going out his back vertebrae. So it dropped him there. Run up, get another arrow in him, which I didn't need to do. My taxidermist wasn't happy that I did that, but he was dead really quick. And it was just, again, I've got a lot of cool footage of my reaction to that after the shot. And I just, 7 freaking years of hunting those things, and to finally have it come together on, a relatively close encounter for an antelope. I'll tell you, I've shot an antelope quite a bit past 60 yards, and man, it was the coolest thing. A once in a lifetime buck that was able to, I was able to make a perfect shot. I was with one of my best friends, and it was an awesome day. And it was another one of those things that you could ask me, what I had for breakfast yesterday morning. I probably won't be able to tell you, but you ask me anything about that hunt and I'll tell you every single last detail about it. It's just one of those things, just they get ingrained in you, and you can't top those experiences.
Yeah, that's super cool, man. Again, just paying your dues. 7 years. Like
7 years.
They don't come easy. I know when I first started hunting them with the bow, I was 3 years before I killed my first antelope with a bow, and it felt like mission impossible, Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just it's a testament to, again, your hard work and dedication. And I just love to see you succeed, like with your bow, and also love to see you succeed through Cutter and the great products you're making. And man, you just really worked at your craft. Like success isn't an accident, isn't it? Is it? It's like, it's really working hard at all the different facets that go into bow hunting. And so, through 7 years, you've really improved your instincts. You've improved your stalking ability. You've improved like locating antelope, the places that you're hunting. And then, of course, your archery skill set. You're a heck of a shot with a bow, and really, like, it's tough to transition being a good shot to being a good shot on animals, and you put in the work to do that. And so, I just couldn't be happier for you to see you succeed on a 101 antelope, like a real rare one, and a great buck, to find your success hunting them, because I know how much you love hunting them too. You put so much effort into it each and every year, and then to see you harvest a great bull as well, man, it's just amazing. It's you really put together a great season.
Yeah, it's been cool. And then I kind of capped it off. I brought my girlfriend out to Texas for her first bow hunt. So it's cool. And, the thing that sticks out to me that it takes time to kind of get these skills is being ready to capitalize on an opportunity. There's lots of times, which I was trying to explain to her and kind of help shorten her learning curve as much as I could. But the first shot opportunity that she had, we're in Texas. We're hunting next to feeders. Yes, it's a fixed distance. It's close, and we know when the deer are going to be there. Perfect setup for a first-time bow hunter. So that's what we did. And these deer walk by, and she's caught with her bow hanging in the tree. These deer at 20 yards, and she doesn't have her bow in her hand. So that's one of those things that you got to learn as you go, is to be ready when those opportunities come, because more often than not, you're not going to get another opportunity, especially on public land out west. Like, you have to be in that moment and ready to go. That's why, you mentioned the shooting practice stuff. Like, you can't be thinking about your grip. You can't be thinking about your front shoulder. You can't be thinking about your anchor point. Like, those things have to be autonomous. Like, you have to just magically go from arrow in the quiver to firing that shot. You can't think about that stuff. It has to be automatic, which is why that practice is so important. And, you know, she was able to find some success. She shot 2 does actually in like 10 minutes and she was tagged out. So she hands me her bow. She says, I'm done. If another one comes in, you shoot it. So I end up shooting a doe with her bow. And she's got about 1 1/8 inches longer draw length than me. She's 5'11". So I shoot this doe with her bow 5 minutes after she shot 2 doe. Like it was just another like crazy day hunting. And it was the coolest thing to see her find her success and then see me try to contort myself into shooting a bow that's 1 inch too long for me and somehow pulling it off. It was badass.
Yeah, that's super cool, man. Yeah, it's so cool you're able to introduce bow hunting to her and then able to do it together a bit. Yeah, and find some success is amazing, man. Well, yeah, heck of a season. Couldn't be happier for you. Couldn't be happier for Cutter. Yeah, keep producing killer products, man. I always enjoy our conversations. So, yeah, keep in touch. Let me know if you need anything from me. And yeah, thanks a bunch for your time, man, joining me on the pod.
Heck yeah, I appreciate you, Brian. I appreciate the support that you've given me and always appreciate the conversation as well. Thanks for having me on.
You bet.